Good evening. Hong Kong has maintained its position as the world's freest economy, although its overall score fell slightly because of perceived corruption. But the ICAC says the city is one of the world's least corrupt places. ATV's An Zheng reports.
Hong Kong has done it again. For the 21st straight year, it was awarded the accolade of the world's freest economy by the Conservative Heritage Foundation. The city beat 185 other economies to finish top of the pile with 89.6 points. That's 0.2 points more than Singapore, while New Zealand with 82.1 points was third.
If we lose a little bit more, we may lose the #1 position. So it's a good warning, and the government and the whole society should prepare for next year.
The SAR showed small improvements in business, labor, and fiscal freedom, but its overall score was 0.5 points down from last year because it dropped points in the freedom from corruption section. That fell 7.3 points to 75, a record low since the handover. But the government said that was because of high-profile corruption cases last year. Last month, former Chief Secretary Raphael Hui and property tycoon Thomas Kwok were jailed after being convicted for misconduct in public office and bribery in the SAR's biggest graft case. And former Chief Executive Donald Tsang is waiting to hear whether he'll be prosecuted after being accused of accepting junkets from tycoons and spending public money lavishly on official foreign visits. In an unusual move, the ICAC responded to the Heritage Foundation ranking, saying the corruption score was a gauge of respondents' perception rather than the actual situation. The corruption watchdog said extensive media coverage of recent high-profile incidents, which it described as isolated cases, should not be seen as a sign of deterioration. On the contrary, the Commission said these cases demonstrated the importance and effectiveness of the city's anti-corruption system. The ICAC added that its own survey last year showed only 1.5% of respondents came across corruption in the past 12 months, proving that it's not a big problem in Hong Kong. An Chang, ATV News.
Pan-Democrat lawmakers have ridiculed a new bid by the government to break the stalemate over political reform and are refusing to consider concessions for the 2022 chief executive election. ATV's Emily Sue reports.
In a bid to break the deadlock over the city's political reform, government sources leaked a suggestion to the media last night that there may be room to adjust the electoral system for the 2022 chief executive poll if LegCo endorses its reform package for 2017. Officials are reportedly willing to promise to increase the number of chief executive candidates in 2022 from 2 or 3 to 3 or 4 and expand the 1,200-strong official nominating committee to 1,600 to 2,000 members. Some of the additional seats will be set aside for the youth sector to include those aged between 18 and 25 years. But the crucial element which triggered the 79-day Occupy protests last year remains unchanged. That is, a candidate can only make it on the ballot after securing the support of more than half of the nominating body. The news didn't go down well with pan-democratic lawmakers, who have already vowed to vote down any reform package that sticks to Beijing's restrictive framework.
I don't think such rumors warrant any serious response at all. If there is anything good, I would expect the Central People's Government to come out in clearly articulated terms and engage Hong Kong people with it.
The government officials dare not even come out to publicly make these statements, and they have to hide behind sources. I mean, I'm not going to respond to sources. I think this is ridiculous.
The Civic Party's Dennis Kwok also urged the government not to be so naive as to think Hong Kong people would accept or believe in what he called hollow promises. But Executive Council convener Lam Woon Kwong urged the pan-democrats not to impose their own wishes on Hong Kong people.
Most of us want the whole political reform to make progress in time. It may be too slow for some, but still, some progress is better than no progress at all.
On a related matter, Kwok confirmed that he has been invited by the liaison office to its Lunar New Year reception on the 4th of February. He has decided to attend the function to express his opposition to a recent proposal to apply China's national security laws to Hong Kong.
So I thought it would be a good occasion for me to go there and express very clearly the position of the Hong Kong people and the legal sector that such a proposal is ludicrous, it is unconstitutional.
The ADPL's Frederick Fong argued that if Beijing's office here is genuine in its efforts to resume talks with the opposition camp on political reform, then all 70 lawmakers should be invited.
DAB Chairman Tam Yu Chung is stepping down as leader of LegCo's biggest political party in March to make way for younger leaders. ATV's Alison Chan reports.
The leader of the largest political party in LegCo made this big announcement this morning.
I will not be to join to the election of the Central Committee. So in other words, that means I will be resigned from the chairman's post.
The veteran Beijing loyalist, who has been running the DAB for nearly 8 years, plans to step down in March when the party re-elects its Central Committee. Also an executive councillor and a local delegate to the nation's top political advisory body, the 65-year-old said he's making way for new blood and is looking for younger members to succeed him.
I found out that we have quite a number of our young generation. They have to fulfill the post. I found out that I think it is a perfect time for me to step down.
Vice Chairwoman Starry Lee, also an executive councillor, is widely seen as a potential successor, but Tam would not talk about it today. He said he hasn't decided whether he would defend his seat in the LegCo elections next year. Alison Chan, ATV News.
ATV is in more hot water after the government said it may revoke its licence for 30 days if it fails to pay fees owed to the Communications Authority by a March deadline. Winner Wong reports.
Responding to concerns about ATV's financial problems, government officials gave lawmakers a clearer picture today. Filling in for the minister in charge of broadcasting, Acting Commerce Secretary Godfrey Leung explained that in addition to facing prosecution for repeatedly failing to pay staff wages on time, ATV is also in trouble over fees owed to the government. The Communications Authority has fined the station $200,000 for failing to pay the fixed fee for its free-to-air license and the annual fee for its fixed carrier license. ATV now owes the government $10.2 million. It's also the second time in 3 years this has happened, and Leung told lawmakers the authority considers it a serious breach of rules. ATV will now have to pay the amount owed in 2 installments in February and March, or the government may revoke its license for 30 days. Staff have yet to be paid their December salaries, and Executive Council convener Lam Wun Kwong slammed the company's majority shareholder today for lending money to some employees instead of paying them. I've been in public service for 40 years, and I've never heard of anything so ridiculous, he said. But when asked whether EXCO could revoke ATV's license, he would only say he had not received any information regarding the matter. The license expires in November, and the government is supposed to give the station a year's notice if it decides not to renew it. Winna Wong, ATV News.
Jordan has offered to exchange a female bomber for a pilot captured by Islamic State. Muaf al-Qasai was seized in December when his plane crashed in Syria during a bombing mission against the militants. Islamic State released a video saying Japanese hostage Kenji Goto and the pilot would be killed unless Jordan frees a woman jailed for a deadly bomb attack in Amman in 2005. Jordan says it's willing to swap the woman for the pilot, but made no mention of the Japanese. Tokyo has urged Jordan to help free Goto after Islamic State killed another Japanese hostage last week. Tech giant Apple has posted a record quarterly profit of $18 billion, the biggest in corporate history, on the back of surging sales in China. The company now has enough cash to give every American citizen a windfall of $556. ATV's Edna Dare reports.
The naysayers are eating their words once more, as Apple has done it again.
The American tech giant's revenue rose to $74.6 billion in its first financial quarter from $57.6 billion a year ago. At a whopping $18 billion, net profit was the biggest that any public company has ever reported. Apple is now sitting on a cash pile of $178 billion, enough to pay $556 to every American citizen. And it's mostly thanks to the latest version of the flagship iPhone. CEO Tim Cook described the demand as staggering. The tech giant sold more than 74 million iPhones in the 3 months to the end of December, with earnings in China surging 70% because of strong demand for the biggest-sized iPhone 6 Plus model. Apple's partnership with China Mobile, the world's biggest service provider, has enabled it to succeed in the massive but highly competitive mainland market, and it's expecting to make even bigger bucks during the Lunar New Year holiday season. The one downside it reported was an 18% drop in sales of its iPad, which analysts say could be the company's own fault, as consumers are going for iPhones with bigger screens instead of the tablet device.
2 Israeli soldiers and a UN peacekeeper have been killed as Hezbollah fighters and Israel exchanged shell fire in southern Lebanon. The fighting raised tension in the volatile region. Several other Israeli soldiers were wounded when an anti-tank missile hit their vehicle. Israel has shelled the region and launched airstrikes, raising fears of a wider conflict. In tennis, Novak Djokovic has reached his 5th Australian Open semi-final. The world #1 beat big serving Canadian Milos Raonic in straight sets in Melbourne. The Serb has now set up a mouth-watering clash against defending champion Stanislas Wawrinka. The Swiss booked his place in the next round earlier after winning against Kei Nishikori. It was sweet revenge for Stanislas Wawrinka, who lost to Kei Nishikori in the US Open quarterfinals last year.